Hi, my name is Jerry, I'm a fantasy author, and today I'm here to tell you a story. In a previous video, I mentioned how one of the things that surprised me after I started releasing my books is that apparently there's an entire cottage industry dedicated to scamming people in my very specific position. That is to say, self-published authors who have managed to gain some amount of traction but still had quite a bit of room to grow, and who might therefore appreciate some marketing advice. And by appreciate, I mean fall for, and by marketing advice, I mean fraud. I've already posted 2 shorts on this general topic, one of them about fake reviews on Goodreads and one about a slightly dubious sponsorship offer that I received. But there's one particular story that I've actually been meaning to share since before I started recording all these videos, because even though it's not nearly in the same ballpark as what you might see on, say, Jim Browning's channel, as far as tales of ordinary scam baiting go, I do think it's pretty funny. And it goes a little something like this. On July 12, 2025, I received the following message in my inbox from someone calling themselves Elena R. Chandler. Hi, Jerry. First off, congratulations on a bad price to pay for love. The blend of mystery, fantasy, and political intrigue you've built in New Monsters is genuinely engaging, and your character work is some of the most nuanced I've seen in indie fantasy. Nell's inner growth, Tessa's emotional depth, and the subtle yet satisfying chemistry between Nell and Mainu all make for a rich reading experience. It's clear you're building a world and a cast that readers want to come back to again and again. I'm Elena R. Chandler, a book marketing strategist who works with fantasy authors to help their stories get discovered, reviewed, and purchased by the right audiences. I'd love to support your work in bringing A Bad Price to Pay for Love and the broader series to more fantasy lovers worldwide. Here's how I can help you amplify your reach and sales. Now, on the surface, an email like this might seem pretty legit. After all, it's long and detailed, it's decently well written, and it even references specific points from the book. However, as we all know, in this brave new world of artificial intelligence, generating any amount of text on any given topic is completely trivial. And there's one very particular red flag. This is something I also brought up in my short about fake reviews, which is that one of the dead giveaways of an AI-written review or summary is that it only ever mentions details about the book that are already available in the blurb or one of the searchable reviews, because that's all the AI can scrape. It's basically like your friend BSing their way through a conversation about a movie based on what they saw in the trailer. And my books, in particular, always have multiple protagonists, and as a rule, I always leave one of those protagonists out of the blurb. My original purpose with this was to make that character something of a surprise to the reader, but an unexpected benefit of it is that AI reviews and summaries will never mention that character because they don't know it exists, even though in 2 out of my 4 books, that character is the first one to be introduced. And that was exactly the case here. Still, of course, it was entirely possible that I was just being cynical and pessimistic, so partly in the interest of fairness and partly because I was on vacation with not much else to do, I wrote back to Elena and asked her, 1, if she had any references from previous authors she had worked with, and 2, if she would be at all interested in continuing our discussion in a call. The second one she politely and unsurprisingly turned down, most likely because she was self-conscious about her Adam's apple showing on camera, but she did give me 3 names. Janie Crouch, author of Resting Warrior Ranch, Faith Martin, author of Murder by Candlelight, and Lenore Rosewood, author of the Alpha Ghost series. And not only did she give me their names, she also provided email addresses and actively encouraged me to reach out to them for more details. And herein was red flag number 2, because if you look at these email addresses, you may notice that all of them are on Gmail, Yahoo, and Outlook, aka free email providers where anyone can register any address they like. I wrote back to Elena telling her I would be reaching out to these authors and asking her to tell me more about her packages in the meantime to give her the illusion that I actually was interested. The responses came soon enough. Faith Martin gave a positive recommendation, as did Lenore Rose Wood, who not only confirmed that she had worked with Elena R. Chandler, but also in parentheses called her Jane and then just proceeded to refer to her as Jane for the rest of the email. Now, who exactly this Jane was supposed to be is a mystery to this day, although we will get something of a clue later. What I can confidently tell you is that it was not Janie Crouch, the third author, because I googled her name, found her official website with her official contact form, and wrote a message to her there explaining the whole situation. And she also was pretty quick to respond. Hi Jerry, believe it or not, you're the third person in the past week who has contacted me about this issue. Oh, trust me Jane, I believe it. Having thus acquired incontestable proof that I was dealing with a fraud, I proceeded with the first cardinal rule of scam baiting, wasting their time. First, I asked her for even more details about her packages, and then asked for some time to think. Hi Elena. Thank you for your detailed response. I'm trying to make up my mind between these two packages. The series expansion sounds really appealing since I'm getting ready to launch my next book later this year. However, for that same reason, I need to be a bit careful right now as the production costs for the book, editing, proofreading, etc. are also due this week. How soon do you need a commitment from me? My idea was that after I make all the payments to the editors in a few days, I'll be able to review my budget and see what works. Since I'm a returning client for my editor, she might be able to give me a discount, which could then go to marketing instead. Would it be alright if I got back to you this weekend, or would you prefer an answer sooner? This wasn't an entire fabrication, but it was still pretty far from being true. At this point, I was still waist deep into the manuscript of my fourth book and also actively looking for a new editor. Still, it was a good enough excuse to kind of dangle the carrot in front of Elena, who bit down hook, line, and sinker and even offered me a discounted combo package for just $1,300. I briefly considered saying yes to it, but in the end, I figured since I deferred the decision citing budgeting reasons, I figured it would be more realistic if I stuck to my original plan. I am a storyteller after all. So after making her wait 3 days, I wrote back to her once again. Hi Elena, thank you for your patience. I settled on all my production prices yesterday, and my editor was able to give me a generous 15% discount, so with that, I can go for the series expansion package for $980. Please let me know when and how you'd like to proceed. Looking forward to working with you. Elena's response came less than 45 minutes later, and at this point, I would like you to reflect on the length and style of this email. In contrast to all the ones before it, which were polite and wordy to the point of being overwritten, as soon as the prospect of a payout came within reach, she didn't even bother to include a signature or even capitalize my name. But she definitely did include a contract, and oh boy, is it a treat. Service agreement and payment process for the Mission Builder package. Off to a fantastic start considering I ordered the series expansion package. This service agreement is entered into by and between Jerry F. Westinger and Eleanor R. Chandler, who apparently became Australian in the meantime. Number 1. Services. The service provider shall perform the services listed in this section 1. A 30 to 60 second fantasy book trailer with character intros and soundtrack, advanced A+ content setup from Amazon, visual content blocks, 10 or more premium social assets, character cards, map excerpts, quote cards, or countdowns, targeted ad strategy setup for Amazon, Facebook, or BookBub, and one-on-one strategic guidance throughout your series rollout, which I can only assume would still be in email because, you know. Compensation. The customer agrees to pay the service provider $980 as payment for the services provided. This fee will be paid in accordance with the following schedule. Total cost of the services, $980. Amount due at signing, $980. Pretty straightforward. Number 3. Expenses. The customer agrees to reimburse the service provider for all expenses incurred as a result of performing the services. The service provider agrees to submit all expenses to the customer for approval prior to incurring the expense. All expenses must be approved. The customer will not be liable to reimburse the service provider for any expense that was not pre-approved. I can only assume what this means is that if we had actually entered into a partnership, Elena would have expensed me all the costs of, let's say, a BookBub marketing campaign, meaning that was not included in the $980. Number 4. Payment. The service provider shall submit campaign success to the customer every days. That was definitely in English and almost grammatically correct. good job. Number 5, term. The term of this agreement shall commence on the effective date, not specified anywhere, and continue for 5 to 6 weeks. Notices. All notices under this agreement must be sent by email with read receipt requested or by certified or registered mail with return receipt requested. Notices shall be sent as follows. Now, up until this point, this was all just hilariously bad, but here's where it gets interesting. For the safety and transparency of both sides, all payments will be securely processed through Upwork. One of my trusted team members, Rachel, will be handling this part of the process. He will send you a custom Upwork contract and payment link to officially begin the project. To proceed, please provide a Gmail address that has not been previously registered on Upwork. This is necessary so Rachel can generate and send a direct payment link to you without issues. Once you provide the email, Rachel will take it from there and guide you through the quick and secure setup. It's a straightforward process and, of course, we'll be here every step of the way to ensure everything is smooth and clear. Looking forward to an impactful and faith-filled collaboration. Need I remind you, this was still supposed to be the text of a legal document. The parties agree to the terms and conditions set forth above, as demonstrated by the signatures as follows. So yeah, this did surprise me a little bit because I honestly just expected to receive a PayPal request which I could proceed to ignore and just be done with it. But this prompted me to play along a little bit further. Only problem was that I did already have an Upwork account with this email address, so I quickly had to register a throwaway one and provide that to Elena. And sure enough, the Upwork offer did arrive to that email address from an account named Rachel K, who not only boasted a 1.3-star approval rating, but also her most recent customer review from the author of The Brass Man and Other Stories, who said, "I do not know the relationship between Rachel and my main contact, Deborah, but one or both of them are not who they say they are." So yeah, I can only assume that Elena is just one of numerous sock puppet accounts operated by this scammer, along with Rachel, Deborah, and perhaps the aforementioned mysterious Jane. Now, as much as I joke about this, something that was outright disgusting to see was that Rachel had already managed to rake in more than $20,000 in payments from her marks. So at this point, I just reported Rachel's account, giving the Upwork team a detailed description of the entire story, including the complete email chain with Elena, and then I just deleted the offer from my profile and assumed they would get the hint. But apparently they didn't, because Elena kept emailing me over and over to ask if I had made the payment. And that gave me a little idea. Hi, Elena. Yes, I have. Has Rachel not contacted you yet? Hi, Jerry. Thanks for confirming. Rachel did mention that you've accepted the contract, but the process isn't fully complete yet. Your account still needs to be funded in order to officially finalize everything on the platform. Kindly fund the project at your earliest convenience, and once done, please send over a screenshot of the confirmation so we have proper documentation on file. My team and I have already begun work on your project and are looking forward to moving ahead smoothly. So this was a little bit of a challenge because, as I said, I had already deleted the offer from my profile, so I had no way of accessing it anymore. So instead of that, I just logged into my online bank, picked out a random card transaction from that day, and then used the browser's debugger to change the details so it looked like I was making a transfer to Upwork. Now, just a quick technical aside to make sure we are all on the same page. Using the browser's debugger only changes the text that you see on your screen at that moment. It has absolutely no effect on the actual transaction in the bank's database. If falsifying bank records was that easy, I would not be recording this in a one-bedroom apartment. Once I changed all the details, including my account number and card number, I took a screenshot and sent it to Elena with this message. Hi, Elena. I'm not really sure what's happening. When I log into Upwork, the contract doesn't show up anymore. I've never used Upwork before, so I don't know if that's normal. However, I did log into my online bank this morning and the payment is there in my recent transactions and it is marked as successfully completed. I attached a screenshot of the details. The text is in Swedish, but the relevant part is belopp, which means amount. The payment was made in Swedish currency, but the amount does correspond to $980. So the money should definitely be with Upwork by now. It might be taking longer to process because it's an international transaction or because it's a weekend. If it's still not showing up for you on Monday, can you or Rachel get in touch with Upwork support to find out what's happened? Feel free to give them my contact details so I can provide any information they need. Hopefully, this will be resolved quickly. Also, balls in your court, bitch. And this is where the story goes from funny to kind of surreal. Hi Jerry, I just wanted to let you know that I've completed the Kindle thumbnail for your book. It's all set. My team and I are currently working on the next phase for their service to keep everything moving smoothly. Regarding the Upwork payment, it appears that the funds have only been funded into escrow but not yet released. That's why it's not showing as deposited on Rachel's Upwork account. Once you release the payment, it will be transferred from escrow and reflected properly on her end. Let me know if you need any help with that process or if you'd like me to walk you through it. Once the payment is released, feel free to send the screenshots so we have formal documentation for our records. Looking forward to continuing the campaign with you. I gotta say, there's something borderline Kafkaesque about this scammer making up lies to justify my own lies to me. But again, to her credit, she did send me the Kindle thumbnail and, well, I was supposed to have paid $980 for this. So at this point, I was once again ready to just end the story here and let it go, once again assuming that Elena would realize by that time that I'd been lying to her and we could all just move on with our lives, partly because I really needed to make progress on my manuscript and also because my brother was coming to visit and I had to make preparations for him. But then, 5 days later, while my brother was here, something unexpected happened. On July 28th, I woke up to find a bunch of new reviews on A Bad Price to Pay for Love on Goodreads. Now, at first, of course, I was overjoyed to see this, but as I started actually reading them, I very quickly noticed that all of these reviews were almost the exact same length, they all used the exact same generically positive language, and, you guessed it, none of them mentioned any details that weren't already available in the description or the searchable reviews. On top of that, when I looked at the actual accounts that had posted the reviews, all of them had recently reviewed the exact same books, which by sheer coincidence were also Rachel's most recent customers. So on the one hand, this was kind of a disappointment, and of course, I once again reported every one of these reviews to Goodreads and they did delete them. But on the other hand, this meant that Elena was still under the impression that I was going to pay her, which was interesting. Hi Elena, sorry I missed your email, I was out of town on a quick vacation. The mockup looks great, and I've also noticed a number of new ratings and reviews. I take it the funds have finally gone through then, and you've been able to get started on the campaign? Hi Jerry, thank you so much for your kind words. I'm really glad you liked the mockup, and yes, the early traction with the reviews and ratings is a great sign of momentum building. That said, I just wanted to clarify that while the funds might have successfully been deposited into escrow, they haven't been released yet on Upwork's end. That's why Rachel's account still isn't reflecting the payment as completed, etc., etc., etc. Now, I suppose I could have kept this going a little bit longer, but I was getting concerned that Elena would eventually lose interest because we would be unable to resolve the issue with Upwork. So instead of that, I wanted to give her a new bone to chew on to keep her on the hook. Hi Elena, the project isn't showing up at all for me on my dashboard. I'll definitely need to contact Upwork support about this. I feel bad about you doing all this work without the payment secured. If you have any other idea what I might be able to try, I'd love to hear them too. I know you said you're busy, but if you can spare any amount of time for a quick call, I can make myself available at almost any time just so we can get this sorted as quickly as possible. Hi Jerry, Thanks for your message. I completely understand the concern, and I agree it's important to ensure that everything is properly tracked and secured. In the meantime, since the project isn't appearing on your Upwork dashboard and we're already working on the next campaign for your book, would you prefer to proceed with the payment via PayPal instead of Upwork? I can send over my PayPal details if that's more convenient for you while the platform issue is being resolved. Please let me know what works best for you and I'll proceed accordingly. Okay, so now we were going in a new direction, but once again, I wanted to keep dangling that carrot a little bit longer. Hi, Elena. Thank you so much for your understanding. If it's all right with you, let's wait a bit for Upwork support to respond first, and if they can't help in any meaningful way, we can try PayPal. Thanks again for all your work. So I made her wait a couple more days and then finally responded. Hi, Elena. After a lot of back and forth with Upwork, during which they were unable to determine the exact problem, they agreed to refund my payment and suggested we try again. To be honest though, this whole process really doesn't inspire a lot of faith in me toward Upwork, so I'd rather we try PayPal instead. I've used that before and never had problems, so I'm much more confident to go that route. I'm sorry about all this hassle. Hopefully we can settle the matter later this week. Let me know how you'd like to proceed. Hi, Jerry. Thank you for the update, and I completely understand your decision. Platform issues like this can definitely be frustrating. Let's move forward with PayPal as discussed. You can proceed with the payment to the following PayPal account. Once the payment is received, I'll confirm right away and continue with the next phase of your campaign without delay. Please let me know once it's been sent or if you have any questions at all. Thank you again for your trust and patience throughout this process. So yeah, considering that this email address doesn't even bear a passing resemblance to either Elena's or Rachel's name, out of sheer curiosity, I logged into PayPal and looked it up and oh boy. Just for kicks, I did make a token attempt to log into PayPal with this email address and see if I could guess my way through the security questions for the forgotten password feature, but unfortunately I didn't succeed and I'm not a hacker, so that is the limit of my abilities. But in the meantime, Elena, the hard worker that she is, kept delivering. Hi Jerry, I hope you're doing well. Just a quick update to let you know we're currently working on the next phase of your campaign. Everything is moving along smoothly and we're excited about the continued progress. I'll be sending over the video trailer for A Bad Price to Pay for Love along with this message. Please feel free to take a look and let me know your thoughts. Thanks again for your continued trust. And if you thought the Kindle thumbnail was a fine piece of work, here is the trailer for your viewing pleasure.
If there is one thing the dead are good at, it is keeping secrets. A year after catching a fugitive necromancer, Nella hoped life in New Monterey would finally quiet down. But peace is short-lived. A wealthy socialite vanishes, and a shocking murder rocks the city's most elegant pleasure house, sending ripples through its shadowy underworld. They've got the wrong suspect, and I'm going to prove it, said Thessa, determined to uncover the truth. 2 investigations, 1 city of secrets. To solve the mystery, they must risk everything. Even love.
Yeah, that just screams Victorian-inspired fantasy with werewolves. Again, need I remind you, I was supposed to have paid $980 for this. Over the next week and a half, Elena did send me a couple more emails asking when I'd be making the payment, but by that time, I was already back at work, I was finishing up my manuscript, and also I just felt like I had gotten all the enjoyment I could out of this interaction, so I decided to tell her the sad, sad truth. Hi Taiwo, sorry I didn't respond sooner. I'm busy baiting another scammer so that I'll have enough material for a YouTube video. I hope he'll be dumb enough to give me his PayPal details too. Feel free to keep doing whatever it is you do in the meantime. Regards, Jerry. Hi Jerry. I wanted to clarify that I am not a scammer. I have genuinely completed part of your project and sent the visual work to your email for your review. Your previous message left me a bit unclear, and I would appreciate it if you could explain exactly what you meant and what your intended plan is. This will help ensure we are aligned and that the work I've done meets your expectations. Please take a moment to review the materials I sent and let me know your thoughts. I'm committed to delivering this project professionally and transparently. Best regards, no name given. So yeah, that is where our story comes to an admittedly somewhat anticlimactic conclusion, but in the immortal words of pre-YouTube viral sensation Bob Ricci, now it's over and I am torn, but I signed her up for being torn. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.